Alright, I got the first giveaway winners. This giveaway was on the Heimdall video, so Andromeda D2 and Nathan, you'll have won the giveaway. Please give me a form of contact so I can get you sorted, but also, if you didn't win, there is still hope, because you can probably tell by now, but I am hosting a second chance giveaway in February. So how this works is every 1,000 subs means that I will add 1 Dazzler Pass to the giveaway total. Right now we're at plus 1 Dazzler Pass, but at 17 subs, which we are like halfway from, I will also add a Dazzler Pass, but I will also rank 3 King or Thanos as a bonus incentive, and yes, I mean OG Thanos, the bad one. So yeah, subscribe to get a second chance, and let's get this video started. Alright, Infamous Iron Man might have like the craziest just like roller coaster of an experience in the contest compared to any other champion. It is absolutely insane how like fluctuant this character's value has been throughout the years, and it all started with like a really rough beginning, if you ask me, because the biggest thing with Infamous Iron Man is that he is Victor Von Doom, right? So when you get Victor Von Doom, you start to think of Doctor Doom, obviously, because that's who he is. So when you see that a Victor Von Doom is coming out into the game, you think that, oh, this guy's just gonna be like the 2.0 version of Doctor Doom. So with that being said, the standard was set insanely high right off the bat, because Doctor Doom in this game is one of the most unbalanced and not fair champions to like ever exist, right? Not really the case anymore, but he was like at the time the best mystic by far. So people were expecting a power creep version of that, but just in the tech class. So when he didn't really do that, and he was kind of just like a good but not, you know, absolutely top tier tech character, problems were started, and then for that reason he really wasn't talked about afterwards, and he's kind of just been in the shadows ever since, and mainly being known as like a what if type of champion, and overall just like a general bust, right? Until he came out as a 7-star, because when he came out as a 7-star, people were like, okay, let's revisit this champion, let's see what we're actually missing with this guy. And that's the whole point of this video today. What are we missing with IDoom? Well, first things first, in this fight right here, we are controlling the heck out of this vision, right? Like ever since our first SP3, he hasn't thrown a single special attack because he is literally unable to. So Infamous Iron Man's fight control, is it as good as Doctor Doom's? You can definitely argue that it is, because once you drop that first SP3, then you drop that SP1 to special lock them, they literally cannot throw any special attack whatsoever. And this is a special lock, right? So it bypasses like any immunities to power control. Of course he does want to have like, you know, access to power burn, but that special lock is still insanely strong. So yeah, so far so good from Infamous Iron Man. Now we have this fight here. You've seen it before, or maybe you haven't, but I have posted this before in a previous video. But this is against a Mr. Sinister, who is a very meta relevant defender and is like very common in the higher tiers of Battlegrounds. And yeah, he doesn't crit, so like that is a very good, that's a very good thing to have against Mr. Sinister, and pretty much the only important thing to have. And that's like why he's so good for this fight, obviously. And you know, taking Mr. Sinister, I feel like does automatically put you on the radar. It's not like, yo, this guy must be on every single Battlegrounds deck because he can take Mr. Sinister. That's not the case at all, but it at least shows that he does have potential to take some meta defenders in Battlegrounds, and just like in general. So yeah, absolutely crushed that fight. Pretty decent fight time as well. That was like under a minute, I think. So yeah, pretty good. And that was the SP2 only rotation, which does work very well for the most part, because you just drop the SP2, you push him to 3 bars of power, which is scary, but once you drop the SP2 actually, you just drain like a whole bar and a half, which is very helpful. So like he has a lot of sources of fight control, whether it's the insanely broken SP3, whether it's, you know, the SP2 spam, no matter what, you have the fight under like very good control. So that's why I feel like he honestly is a very strong control champion. And like, it has me thinking, dang man, this guy honestly, yeah, very good, right? Just because he does what like he was meant to do very well, and that's control the fight. Now, there are some drawbacks of this champion, obviously, because one, he is a shock damage dealer. Now, don't get me wrong, that's fine, right? You can be a shock damage dealer and be perfectly fine in this game. Beta Ray Bill, for example, he's perfectly, like, insane. He is an insane champion, right? However, it's bad if you are a tech champion that has shock, because there is this character named Nimrod, and he was so dominant to the point where they had to start adding some shock immune mutant champions. So while he can do like pretty good things with his shock, like for example right here, this Thunderstruck node, there is one thing to note. It's the fact that like very modern mutant champions aren't really like that friendly to shock characters because of what Nimrod did to the game for like, what, 2 or 3 years? So like Dust, Onslaught, two of like the most core mutant defenders right now are shock immune, so IDoom just does not work for them. So like that's one issue with IDoom as it stands right now. He was very good like with the current defenders of like 2022, like, you know, Bishop, Kitty Pryde, but with like these current defenders, you won't really see him being used for them since he just does not work against them, given that they are shock immune, right? He does work for some other defenders though in the mutant class that like aren't shock immune. For example, you have Toad, you have Sauron, you have Mr. Sinister, who is a massive one. And by the way, let's look at Infamous Iron Man, you know, adapting to the nodes around him. This is Thunderstruck, right? And whenever you convert like your shocks into power burns, it doesn't count as a shock effect, obviously. So what you want to do here is just never activate the aura of iron and just keep your shocks on the SP2, and you get to keep all your damage because you counter Thunderstruck that way. And the shock damage is honestly very good given the node enhancements, but yeah, perfect counter for Thunderstruck. Really good for those type of nodes. Now we have this safeguard node, and this is where I feel like Infamous Iron Man might make a tiny comeback, because the upcoming meta is Mixmaster. So it's Mixmaster, and it also has the node where like if the opponent is shocked or incinerated, they cannot evade. It also has Safeguard, which Infamous Iron Man is like the perfect counter towards, since he doesn't crit and his critical damage, which is in red, can bypass Safeguard. So yeah, we might see Infamous Iron Man being used in a Battlegrounds meta, which honestly isn't super common, but here's one issue. He'll be good for the Mr. Sinisters, right? Don't get me wrong, but who did I take up during my last video saying that she will have a ton of use in Safeguard? Dust, right? Why did I take her up? Because she is immune to bleed, poison, and shock. So there is one mutant defender that he just cannot take because of the shock immunity. Same thing with Onslaught, who would just wreck him. And then like the biggest issue after that is his utility demands don't really extend beyond the mutant class. So if you're like a modern mutant and you stop Infamous Iron Man, all that he has left are like the older mutants that don't really see much use in Battlegrounds anymore, and just like in Alliance War in general. So he's really left with like not much to take, right? And that kind of does suck, because, you know, like I was really happy to see that the next meta was friendly towards him, but when I like think about it more, it's like, is he actually going to be good for it, or like is he just too outdated to really have any use in that meta? And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I feel like he is a good champion, but I don't think he is that equipped to take the problems of today, if that makes any sense. Like right here, Kitty Pryde, perfect counter towards her, right? Because he has cowardice and that shuts off Kitty Pryde. We don't need that anymore because we don't see Kitty Pryde placed anywhere. So it's like that really doesn't matter that much these days, right? Right, like what you want to see right now is like Incinerate or Plasma for Dust, or like just like having no DOT for Onslaught. And Infamous Iron Man, he just cannot meet those demands. And like, it has me thinking, I think that we were wrong about this champion, but we were wrong about him a long time ago. These days, I think it's okay to call him, like, you know, past his prime, and like maybe just not super powerful. I think he is a powerful champion. He does have access to some of the strongest power control in the game, and if you ask me, I think he did live up to the Victor Von Doom hype train when it comes to fight and power control. Now here's the thing that is really funny. I think Infamous Iron Man might be past his best years, but so is Dr. Doom. So I feel like this whole time he did match the power level of Doom, and we were wrong about that. Like, he was actually in that like ballpark of power control level. However, when we realize it, it's too late, because now they're both just kind of out of the system and just like out of the demands of the current meta. So yeah, it does kind of suck to see how, like, I think this champion is very good, but I think his best matchups are just a bit too back in time for us to really care. And additionally, he was kind of like caught in the crossfire of the whole Nimrod situation, which really put an end to like shock friendly mutant champions. And like I said before, sometimes if a champion can just like extend beyond their class demands, that issue isn't really relevant towards them. However, IDoom is really focused on being a mutant countering tech character, and while he does have power control, he really doesn't have like much use for that these days, I feel like. So it's like he really just has his tech utility, and if he doesn't have that, he is just a fun to play champion that does have great control of the fight, but that's really it. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. And like, one thing I forgot to mention in the first place is he is so easy to counter. Like, if you armor break him, he is just done for, right? And that does kind of like make him different from like Dr. Doom and other champions that, like I said, can extend beyond their class needs. He cannot, if like the opponent has like, you know, armor break or nullify, he just cannot work, right? Like right here, this Mephisto boss, I had to wait 30 seconds to get my to get my armor up so I can like actually be immune to the incinerate. Like, he does have good immunities, like, you know, incinerate immunity is very solid, shock immunity is very good as well. But yeah, the more I think about it, it's just like, I just don't know where I'm gonna use this champion. Right? I might be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. He could actually be like insanely useful and I just am not seeing it, but as it stands right now, I don't want to say that he failed his trial, because that's a bit mean, and I don't think this character is like absolutely done for, but the damage that he had to take from like things that weren't even his fault is really sad, right? Because, you know, having to be bad for upcoming mutant defenders just because of Nimrod is insanely sad. He could be good for like future mutant defenders, because like the Nimrod era is far and away gone. He is just like out of the question. So maybe they bring back some shock friendly mutant defenders in like these, you know, upcoming months. And, you know, if that's the case, then yeah, I think this character does have a really strong chance of becoming a very notable and like very frequently used tech champion. But as it stands right now, I just cannot call him that, because I just don't really see where this character is gonna fit in the current landscape of this game. So I feel like this trial has to be a bit postponed because I want to see how like 2025 shapes up for like these tech characters that rely on shock. But yeah, I don't know, he's an interesting one. He's a very interesting champion. He's a very good fight control champion, like that is his standard, right? But when it comes to expanding beyond that, especially outside of mutant champions, I just don't really see it for him. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Infamous Iron Man, and yeah, that's about it for me.